I'm very excited today because I'm going to do one of my favorite meals, and from the comments I've been receiving, one of your favorite meals too. Today we're going to do Ducunu. You're watching the Bear Pantry Show. Okay, so we're going to start with this big bowl, a good sized bowl, and I'm going to do the full recipe that I do in that I put in the book. Okay, so we have kernel corn, and I know somebody who did it before when I gave them the recipe, and they used, like, I'm using 4 cans of kernel corn, but they use 3 cans of kernel corn and 1 can of that sweet corn or sugar corn. But I'm using straight up 4 cans of kernel corn. I'm going to be using coconut milk, 13.5 fluid ounce in the can, and I get any coconut milk that's on sale. Okay, I'm going to be using baking powder. I have salt and black pepper, and of course, where's my shortening? I already measured it out, so I put it away. So I'm going to be doing shortening in the Ducunu, and you notice I don't do a lot of stuff with shortening, but the Ducunu calls for shortening, and we're going to use this cornmeal mix. And the reason why we do the cornmeal mix is because, you know, back in the olden days when they did Ducunu, they would go on ahead and grate the corn on the cob. So that didn't come with a lot of liquid to it, right? And then they can form the Ducunu better that way. But because we're doing it Bear Pantry style, we don't want to go back to old school grating the corn. We're doing the canned stuff. We're going to leave it in its juices, and we're going to go on ahead. Where's my cup? We're going to go on ahead and put it in the Magic Bullet. And you can do it in a blender, but you know how much I love my Magic Bullet. Well, let me go ahead and get my blade. And I keep my Magic Bullet handy all the time, okay? So we screw on the lid on the Magic Bullet, and we go ahead and we give it a whirl in the... And then what we do, we put it in the bowl. And that's one. We have 3 more cans to do, so let me get those done. Okay, see here? I've got the 4 cans of the kernel corn that I blended in the Magic Bullet. Like I said, you can use a blender. See how thin the liquid is? Now this can't make a good Ducunu just like this. That's why we need that cornmeal mix. I don't just like pull things out of my head and take it for granted. I still check my list to make sure I'm putting the right ingredients in, so I have my book off to the side. That's why, by the way, I made the book spiral so it could stay open, because if it was the perfect bound, I'd be having trouble keeping the book open. So it's 4 cans of kernel corn, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper that we're going to put into this. It's not a whole lot of salt. Half a teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda, but baking powder. And this is getting kind of low to the can, so I'll open a new can and dump it in. So half a teaspoon. And the best thing for you guys to do is invest in a good set of measuring utensils. See, these are my teaspoons. It has a quarter, a half, 1 teaspoon, a half a tablespoon, a tablespoon. And I have my good measuring cups too, and they're all clipped together. I got these at Smart and Final a few years ago, and I like that they're color coordinated, so you know which ones you're using. So we're going to add the coconut milk to this batter, and I'm calling it a batter because it's very thin. So look how rich this coconut milk look. And then the coconut milk, by the way, is the thing that makes this Ducunu sweet. And then we're going to add the shortening. And you want to nuke the shortening in the microwave to make it become liquid, and you want to add it right away to the Ducunu, because the minute you set this down, this is going to solidify again. Go on ahead and put the shortening to nuke. Cover it up with my little lid. I'm going to put it on a minute. Okay, so while that's nuking, let me come back and show you what we did with the aluminum foil. See, I have a lot of things prepared, set aside, so we can move swiftly today with these 2 cameras. This is like 12 by 12. You don't have to go measure it with a tape measure, but that's about where it is. And this is what we're going to make the Ducunus off in. So we're going to start with 1. Let me put 1 there. And we're going to put the Ducunus to boil. Some people put a colander and they put it to steam, like they set a colander on the top of this, and they let the Ducunu, put the water on the bottom and let it steam. I don't do it that way. I actually boil it. And what I'm going to do is set it in the pot without water, then add water to it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here. After we put the shortening, we're going to go on ahead and add the cornmeal mix. The cornmeal mix, okay? And we're going to add 6 cups of this. We want to get it as thick as oatmeal. So let me get my shortening. And it's totally liquid. It's a little bit too hot. So and keep all your tools with you when you're working in the kitchen right away. So let's add the shortening. See how liquidy it is? Let's add the shortening. Set that aside because that's hot. Stir it in. And that's the black pepper, by the way, that black thing that's going around right there. And like I said, somebody I know had used the sweet corn, or what we call the sugar corn, 1 can to the 3 that I use, but I don't want to use that because it gets it a little bit too sweet. So this cup is a 2-cup measurement, and we're going to add 6 cups of this cornmeal mix to the mixture. And again, this is to thicken it so the ducunu can get some body. And we don't need any kind of cake mixer or KitchenAid or anything. See how simple ducunu is to make? It's not complicated at all. A lot of you have been asking me to do this, by the way, because I did the tamales a long time ago. With the tamales, I would tell you, go ahead, get somebody to help you do the tamales so that you're not overwhelmed. With the ducunu, you don't need anybody to help you. 1 big bowl and all these ingredients. See, it's still a little thin with the 2 cups of cornmeal mix, so we're gonna add another 4 cups. And usually I wouldn't measure. I would just start pouring from this box until it gets thick as oatmeal. And so, but I'm measuring so I can show you guys what actually goes into the making of the ducunu. So here we are. And I'm gonna make some plain ducunus, by the way. And I'm gonna make a couple of them that has meat and spinach in it because that's a little bit healthier way of eating, I believe, the ducunu. So here we are. See, it's getting thicker. So I wanted you to see this because I don't want you guys to say I slipped any step by when it comes to the ducunu, because we want to go ahead and make it as thick as oatmeal. And I'm using the yellow cornmeal mix, by the way, because the white one doesn't give the ducunu that nice yellow color that we're used to from the corn. So that's why I'm using the yellow, but it's not wrong if you use the white one. It's just a color thing. So here we are. See, it's getting thicker and thicker and thicker. Get in here with your camera for me, Jada. Let me see. See how thick this is? And we can add a little bit more because it's 6 cups we're doing. It's not going to be too much. So here we are. See how thick it is? See how hard it is now for me to go ahead and stir it with a spoon? See? Beautiful color to this ducunu. And nothing hard about it, okay? Simple. You know, that's what I try to do when I make my recipes. It's not about complication. It's not about ingredients. It's just about making it real simple so that anybody can cook it. Because, like I told you, for years and years and years, I didn't cook because, well, I cooked, but it was nasty. I'll be honest with you. Until Joe started teaching me. And then when I started writing the recipes, it was because of my Uncle Les. And he loved the Belizean food. And he couldn't make some of them, so he would call me for the recipe. And so one Christmas, I made a little index card type book, and where you know, the kind that you slip the index card in the pocket. And I made one for me and one for him, and I gave it to him as a Christmas gift. And I had some of these, not all of them, because I have 101 recipes in the book, but I had about, I want to say a good 30 or 50. His son Brian still has that book. He's holding on. So when this book becomes a bestseller, he'll say, I have the first copy. And so, because my Uncle Les has since passed on since 2002. So that's why I started messing around with writing down the recipes, because to tell you the truth, I didn't write any of them down. I just kind of knew them in my brain, and sometimes they would come out good and sometimes they wouldn't. So let me move this out of the way here to show you the first one. I just took that pot spoon and I just basically plopped it in there in the middle of the foil. Please don't scream at me because I'm not using the corn husk, because I don't know how to fold that. I know you're supposed to steam it and then do this, do that. I know how to pose it to take my cameras for the book, but I didn't know how to do it. So I fold that top one there. And don't get scared if stuff are oozing out of the sides. You know, all you do is clean it up. and you fold the sides in as tight as you can go, and that's one ducunu. Okay, now let me get a piece of foil. I want to show you one where we're going to put some meat, and you can put beef or you can put, I have leftover chicken and I have spinach. And the reason I'm putting the spinach is because spinach is healthy for you, and I want to get the fiber, and I don't really like spinach when it's raw, so I try to sneak it into things that I cook. So we're going to put a little bit of the spinach here. Let me get this out of the way. Just a little bit. You want to put a whole lot. A little bit of the chicken in the middle of this ducunu, or this could be beef, like I said. And then we're going to go ahead and fold this one the same way I folded it. Where I do the top first, fold it down, and then fold the sides in. And then what you can do, like if you're doing half, like you're doing half and half. If you're doing half with plain ducunu and half with the ducunu with the meat, you can get some sewing thread, and like red, probably a bright color, and you can just tie it around this ducunu when you boil it, so you can know, oh yeah, that one has the meat. My mom used to do that when we made tamales, because my dad only liked the breast part of the chicken and we like the wings and the backs and all those greasy parts. And so she would go on ahead and tie stuff around the items that was for my dad, so we could know that's one has the breast, or she would tie a different color around the part that had the neck that she liked, and you would see all these color-coded threads going around the tamales that she made for us. So we're gonna go ahead, put the ducunus in this pot. When I come back, we're gonna have it filled, like maybe ½ inch from the top, and we're gonna put it on the stove to boil for 1 hour. I decided to use this bigger pot right here because I got too many. So in this pot I have 10 of the plain ducunus, and they're kind of big. They're not little scrawny ducunus. So if you wanted to make them smaller, you could get a good 15 or 17 out of this batch that I got 10. And then I'm using my little shorter 6-quart pot to do the 6 that I got with the meat and the spinach inside. And I'm going to put them on the stove right now to boil for about an hour. And it's 1 hour complete, because I'm not boiling the water in advance and then drop them in when they're hot. We're going to start the water regular room temperature, and then it's going to come to a boil in about 10-15 minutes. And it's going to continue to cook for another 45 minutes. And then I'm going to come back and show you the finished product of the ducunus. I wanted to show you guys how much water I put in the pot. See? It's quite a bit. This is a 6-quart pot. These are the ducunus, 6 of them with the meat and the spinach inside. And then this big pot on the back, I've got what, 10 I think I got? And see how it's full? So don't skimp on the water, okay? And I'm going to put the lids on these. I just took them off to show you guys. And it's been boiling for about a ½ hour already, but remember, it's only about 15 minutes of cooking time if it's boiling for ½ hour, because we needed 15 minutes for the water to come to a boil. And I found out too, when Jada did a science project when she was like in 5th grade, that if you put salt in the water, it comes to a boil quicker than if there's no salt. But you know how I feel about salt. Over here, I'm making some potato salad, because I told you guys before that every time I'm doing the Bear Pantry show, somebody wants to cook something in the kitchen. See your finished product? This is the ducunu that doesn't have anything on the inside. This is the one with the spinach. You can also mince the spinach a little bit more fine, and then you won't have it show like that. See? It's hot. Look. Now this is the kind I like with the stuff inside. But you don't have to put anything. You can put peppers, you can put a whole bunch of stuff, ham, anything you want to put on the inside, you can put on the inside. Did you see how beautiful the ducunu came out, how the consistency was? Did you see the one with the meat inside? I hope you try it. I want you to give me some comments to tell me how it came out, because you guys have been asking forever and forever about it. Some people call it tamalitos. We call it ducunu in Belize. It's sweet. It goes with chicken, stewed beef. I eat it just as a side dish to my carb, because I like that it's made with corn and I put the spinach and stuff in it. Thank you for subscribing. You see how many subscribers I have now, and thank you for commenting, because if you don't comment, it would be a very boring thing to me, because I wouldn't know who's watching and what you want to see, and if you like it or if you don't like it. I take all the comments, the negative and the positive ones. And thank you so much for the people who have bought my book this week. I've met a bunch of people this week that are awesome. They just were so positive and so supportive, and I really appreciate it. Until I see you again, take care.